Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Everything Accordion podcast. A podcast where we talk to musicians, accordionists, we talk about career, we talk about what it means to be a musician in the 21st century. I am your host, Gennady Rotari, and it's a pleasure to have you with us on this journey. If you like the podcast and haven't done so yet, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to it, whether on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or on YouTube, so that you get all the updates when new episodes come out. Also, if you enjoy the podcast, please rate and review the podcast. This helps get the podcast discovered on the different platforms. Another quick update, the podcast now has a Patreon page. There are 3 different tiers. The first one is listener, then there's the supporter, and then there's the fan. So for a one-time or monthly donation, you get the access to the WhatsApp and Telegram communities, as well as early updates on guests and upcoming episodes, patrons-only polls. Other perks include also participation in Hangouts, whether live or online, the different masterclasses that I'm planning to organize, Q&A sessions. You also get the chance to ask the next guest a question. And for the top tier, you also get a shout out at the end of each episode and will receive exclusive merchandise from the podcast. So check out the link in the description of this episode. And if you really enjoy it, please consider supporting it. Again, you can do a one-time donation or you can support the podcast on a monthly basis. Thanks again for being here and for listening to these conversations. And without further ado, let's jump into this next episode. So welcome back to a new episode of the Everything Accordion podcast. Today we're sitting down with a musician and accordionist from Slovenia, engaged in a lot of unique and very interesting projects, which we will be talking about. He also teaches as a professor at the Academy of Music in Ljubljana. He's also a composer, so really well-rounded musician of today's world. And it's a pleasure for me to be talking to Luka Juhart. Luka, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thank you. I'm really happy to be here with you. Thank you for your invitation. I really admire your work. Thank you for your time and energy that you're spending for our community. I mean, it's really important to have this kind of podcasts.
Likewise, I really enjoy what you are doing. I'm fascinated. The first time I've heard about you was when I was a student in Trieste. It was a CD, I believe it was the Dialogue album. And it really kind of blew my mind to hear what was possible on the instrument. And I remember we met in person, I think. No, it wasn't for the first time. The first time we met in 2016, I think, when with a project with accordion concertos and string orchestras, but you were kind of tutoring at the moment and being one of the responsible people for the project. And then we met last winter in Ljubljana for the accordion days. We started talking, and I really wanted to have you on the podcast to have this conversation. So thank you for your time and being here for this chat.
Yeah, I remember you also from this project. From this project, it was for string orchestra and accordion soloists from Trieste, Pula, and Ljubljana, and it was really nice. We had quite many concerts, and you played really well. I can remember that. Yes. So
thanks. Yeah, no. So, before we kind of start off this conversation, how did it start for you? How did you first hear or meet the instrument, the accordion?
When I was quite young, at the beginning of my school, I have problems with my hips. I was very, very curious and I had a lot of energy. But I couldn't do any sports. So my parents put me in the music school, and I was actually very open to do any instrument. I was so enthusiastic. But then my mother's friend was accordion teacher, so that's why accordion. So there was no higher philosophy. Actually, it was coincidence. But then, when you are in the river, then just you go with the flow, and then came the first competitions and success, and so on and so on. So now I play accordion, but as you already mentioned, I'm doing a lot of stuff. And if someone is saying to me that I'm accordionist, I feel somehow, I mean, accordion is for me a tool, but this doesn't say everything about me. I'm actually much more than only accordionist. I'm also a father and a climber and an organizer, etc., etc. So
Hmm.
yeah, accordion has an important part in my life, but it's not the only thing that I do. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really like this approach, and also talking more broadly about musicians, because we, at the end of the day, we are human beings that chose to do a certain thing in life as a career path. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that we're not much more, at that
Mm.
point. And yeah, as you say, this kind of labeling of I am this or I am that, it's, I understand what you mean. It's kind of limiting when someone says, "Oh, you're an accordionist." I'm like, yes, that's my main instrument, but I'm actually a musician, but I'm also kind of trying to get into entrepreneurship, and also I'm that and that. It's, yeah, it's kind of weird, because when we choose to kind of be I am, then it's
No.
it's almost like anchoring yourself to that identity and not allowing yourself to be more at times, even kind of self-limiting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I made a small introduction about you as an accordionist, as a musician. For the people who don't know you, what should they kind of, how would you describe yourself, aside from, as you said, musician, father, climber? Climber, that's actually quite interesting that you're including that as well, because it's a very, very specific activity.
I mean, I'm coming from Slovenia. We have a lot of mountains, and skiing and climbing and going to the mountains is part of our culture somehow. So for us, this is not so special. But yeah, maybe for people from Germany or Denmark, or I
Hmm.
don't know, it's special.
Well, for me,
I
from
don't know. I
Moldova,
also
it's definitely special. We don't have any mountains, so.
um, I'm um, I'm very interested in arts in general. So this was always my my really strong focus, especially in contemporary arts, visual or literature or whatever. So I had the luck that I actually chose accordion as my main instrument because, as you all know, accordion is contemporary instrument, and actually we don't have any music that is older than I don't know, 60 years or whatever. Of course, I played a lot of Baroque music, but mainly I was really interested in art. So I was really boring accordionist for many people here in our land, because in our land in Slovenia, for example, folk music is really important, and I was the only one that never played Oberkreiner and this kind of stuff. I was really not. I mean, I have nothing against it. It's just not my thing. So I just focused on art and art music. So I quite soon I my focus was in new pieces, in new collaborations. I was already as a student, I was searching for pieces that no one wanted to play, or that wasn't famous somehow. So yeah, then I just uh, I just did this after the studies, and yeah, now I'm here where I am. I compose also quite a lot. I would like to do it more. I organize a lot. I have 3 concert cycles. I had 3 concert cycles last year. This year, I I, I don't want to do it as much as I did last year, but I'm doing a huge work. I mean, I invest a lot of energy in students. I'm leader of contemporary music department at Music Academy in Ljubljana, and we are doing really interesting projects. And this is at the moment a huge part of my work. Of course, I have accordion class and my own projects, but yeah, this is mainly what I'm doing at the moment.
Mainly, I mean, you listed so many things that you're doing, and I think the phrase that you said in the beginning, like when you're in the river, you're kind of going with the flow and see where it takes you. And I believe that's kind of, I don't want to say a philosophy maybe for you, but I mean, it kind of brought you where you are. It's like you kind of worked your way through that, saw where it's going, and yeah, only quote unquote being an accordion teacher or an accordion professor, I would imagine being a little bit limiting or tight for you, you know.
Mm.
So imagining you in the role of a composer, organizer of concert cycles, leader of a contemporary music studio at the academy. I mean, that's I would see it only as normal for someone like you who is interested in the broader arts and
Yeah,
on.
but mainly I must say this because it's a huge part of my life. I have 3 kids. They are all very active. I spend a lot of time with them. I am alpine instructor. Also, I could earn my money with this activity. So I really am still spending a lot of time in the mountains. Why I'm telling this is because I think it's very important to be as bright as possible as a person. Maybe not if you are just a musician and you're playing one instrument and then you just learn a lot of new scores, and then this is not so important. But if you are a teacher and if you are a father, then it's very important to have as much experiences in life as possible. And this was always my goal, not to be boring as a human being, you know. In Germany there is really nice word for those who are Fachidiot. You know what I mean? It's like
Mhm.
you are very good in one thing, but the rest is somehow n- not your not your world. So this was always my phobia to become someone like this, because you know, as a student you are spending really a lot of time with accordion and with instrument alone in a room, and I'm still practicing a lot, and this is somehow yeah, there is a danger that you are at one point alone in your own world, and you don't know what to do really with your knowledge and skills.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think it's very important what you're saying, to be as experienced of a human being as possible, in the sense that all of that at the end is um, has a certain impact on all spheres of your life. You know, if you are, for example, I would imagine if you are an instructor in some sports, that kind of impacts the way you see stamina, resistance, focus, for example, playing a musical instrument. Or maybe if you're doing a certain other activity, the method that you're learning, the patience that you're learning with learning a musical instrument gives you a bigger insight, or gives you an advantage in a way in deconstructing and finding different solutions and perspectives to a different problem. So all of this in the end impacts the way we are as human beings. In the end, like what I tell the parents of my pupils, especially when they're kids, I say to them, it's important that they are doing this, because even if they will never be musicians in their lives, what they are learning with music lessons are valuable skills and valuable, how can I put it, life lessons and aspects that will help in the end in some way, in my opinion. But maybe that's just me thinking about the importance of our job, But
no, there are really physical evidences that music is good for our brains. So I explained this to my children. We, with your mother, we are both musicians, so you must have so basic knowledge about music, and it's good for your brain. I mean, if you are cleaning your teeth every day, you will play your instrument every day. You don't need to be a musician. Do it 10 minutes, concentrated, and this is okay for me, but it's really good for your brain, and we won't discuss it. So this was my way of doing it. And now it's like, my son, it looks like he would like to, I mean, he is quite good musician already, so I think he is on the way to become a musician. The girls, I don't know, maybe yes, maybe no, it's not so important. They are playing a lot and they are enjoying it and they are really good, but it doesn't matter actually. As a musician, sometimes I'm also afraid if they will choose music for their their life. It's there are mixed feelings, because it's really nice, but you also know how hard it is. So if you don't do it really like if you are doing it with heart, when it's hard for you and you must motivate yourself, and if you are as a child already stressed, then maybe you are not the right person, because the job is already too hard. I don't know. So maybe is other Tima.
But thanks for saying that, because before I would probably have been enraged to hear something like that, like maybe it's not for you. Nowadays I'm thinking more pragmatically, maybe. I don't know if it's the right word, but in a sense, like I see now that I'm working with kids just starting, and I'm also working sometimes with students who are thinking about going to a university or so on, and I see where I am and I see where they are, and I see the huge journey, the huge gap that kind of there are some steps that need to be undertaken. And on the one hand, it is, let's say it like that, if you are in this career for making money, there are much easier ways to make money, to be also being less stressed. But if you're driven by something else, if you're driven by curiosity, if you're driven by the will to explore, the will to connect on some different level with people, be it in chamber music collaborations, be it in orchestras, be it in concerts, just as a dialogue with the audience, then what I would encourage as well to do is to learn some basics of management, some basics of financials, and some basics of marketing. Also, because at that point you will have useful skills to make your life much easier. Because many times, for me, when we go outside of a academy, it's Wild West. It's kind of like you kind of need to make your own mistakes and see what works. Unless you have been, as part of an intuition, maybe developing already some sort of collaborations, friendships with composers, with conductors, with other musicians, so that when you go outside, you're not alone. You're kind of already together with someone, and everyone is doing their own thing, so. I think that's one of the aspects. But I also think you're right that on some level one must really desire to do this path, not to overthink it, but at the same time, oh, I don't know, maybe, yeah, maybe no. I mean, I don't remember who said it, but if you have a plan B with music, music will never be your plan A.
I mean, I see students that are really doing this with great pleasure, and it's a huge joy to work with them. And you cannot to unsupport them because they are really doing this as a most important thing in their life. But if they are not so motivated, if they have fears and maybe physical problems or some other interests, I would not force them as a parent, for example, to do this because they already invested, I don't know, 10, 15 years in music education. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this is a problem. I think that people are investing. I don't know. We have school system with 9 years, primary school, and then gymnasium 4 years. So it's like 13 years of education, and most of them are also visiting a music school also like 13, maybe 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
And after this huge amount of time and huge amount of energy that they and their parents and all community invested in this education, they don't want to quit somehow. They don't
Mm.
have any other idea, but they also don't want to quit. But you see already that they have some kind of problems. And I see these kind of students at the academy, and many of them are not very successful, or they just
Mm.
quit.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's also very important to have a contact with music, and if you don't feel like doing it, it's really cool to just say, hey, I will play in amateur orchestra, or I will do it for me, or I will have a band with my friends, and now I will be a lawyer or teacher or whatever. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's also very nice, and I think um, you can take your experiences and knowledge from this music education part of your life. It's very legitimate, I think.
Luka, thank you for dropping all of these truths because it's essential to hear that. Sometimes we don't want to acknowledge that to ourselves and maybe to say to others because, as you said, we invested so much into this and we're doing a lot of this. I was reading a book this past month. I just finished it, and it's about the psychology of choice and also about psychology of consumerism. And one of the things that was mentioned is exactly what you were saying. You know, we've invested so much time, so much effort. It feels like now if I don't do this, it has been all for nothing. And I believe it's called sunken cost fallacy. Basically, it means if I'm seeing all of those years invested and all of the time invested as a cost, you know, that in the end I'm not doing this, then it's a sort of a failure, it's a cost. But if I see it from a different perspective and I see it as an investment into my own skills, into building my own knowledge about a certain area, that I'm building my own patience, that I'm building an aesthetic of work, a method of work, then it doesn't feel like if I'm walking away from this career path or career choice, it doesn't feel like a cost. It feels like an investment, and it feels like, okay, I have a skill set that I can go and use in some other field. You know, it comes back to the mindset, how we are viewing what we're doing. Um, and as you're saying, like you could, music is anyway a part of everyone's life, whether you're a musician or not. And luckily the music career is so broad and so big that you can actually, even if you're not playing accordion, violin, piano, because of physical problems, because of pain, you can go and do work in organizing the events. You can go and become a lawyer representing musicians, or because you have that vast knowledge of what it means, or you could, I don't know, start your own recording studio and support musicians for that. I mean, there's really a lot of things doing. And if you're not continuing with your instrument for whatever reason, it's absolutely legitimate, and you don't need to explain anything to anyone, even to yourself, why you're doing that. You just need to know why you're doing that, and not to think, oh, I'm a failure because I'm not continuing and because so many hours have been invested into this. Because if you're not happy, I mean, you will keep on investing hours in something you're not happy with. Doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, and I'm saying to my students, I'm really not afraid what you're going to do in your life, because you are so hardworking. You can motivate yourself to do every day the same work for many hours without achieving special goals, and you're so clever, and it really doesn't matter what you're going to choose for your life path, for your job. You will be successful, I'm quite sure, because musicians are trained to be hardworking somehow, without prizes after each day, etc. And they proved actually that it is like this. I mean, my students, and I believe also majority of other musical students, they all are very busy, and they all have survived, and they all have found their way and their jobs also outside of musical world. I think music has many benefits. This scene, this world has many problems, of course, but it has also many advantages. So yeah, I could not teach at the university, at music academy, if I wouldn't believe in this.
Mm-hmm.
In this, I believe I'm honest person, and when I won't believe in this, in arts and in music and in working with young people like this, I won't be able to do my job anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's intellectual honesty. Because otherwise, what am I doing? I'm telling you, you will succeed when I'm knowing that you won't. I mean, yeah, it's also not beneficial for the upcoming generations who maybe one day will be in your place and will be saying something similar to the next generation. So
No.
having this approach today, especially like maybe before, it was a little bit different in the sense that you had sort of one path, you become a performer, then you teach, and then that's your career as a musician. And nowadays you can do a lot more, like really so much more. And but I'm curious about one thing you said about identity, that you don't tie yourself to the identity of an accordionist in a way. You're a musician, you're a father, you're a climber, you're all of these things. And this is something that I'm kind of struggling with, because in everywhere people tell you, oh, you need to stay consistent with what you are, because that's kind of your personal brand, let's call it, quote unquote, right? So if you keep on doing many things, then people don't really understand what you're doing or who you are, what you stand for. And in a way, I can understand that. And in a way, I'm kind of against that, because I don't really want to, if I say, okay, I'm an accordionist, I play a certain type of repertoire, I'm that. But I'm also interested in a lot of other things. And kind of deviating in a way
Okay,
from that path.
I must interrupt you here,
Mm-hmm.
because maybe for young people it's important to say that I was practicing really a lot. I
Okay.
played all the major pieces, the hardest pieces, when I was really young. I did few competitions, not many, but mainly competitions with other instruments, not accordion competitions. And I was studying really hard. I did my so-called PhD Meisterklasse when I was 25. So it was I was really fast, and at that time I didn't compose. I was climbing when I had time, so this was in my free time. This was never my main occupation even now. But I was really quite yeah very hardworking, and actually obsessed with playing and practicing, etc. Then I was 10 years freelancer. I played mainly contemporary music all over the world. And last 10, I'm at university 13 years, but I'm full-time professor last I don't know how many years. I have this privilege to improve, to educate myself in different directions, and I think my knowledge and my work could be useful also in other areas. I organize a lot of concerts. For example, here in my local town, I live in one small town, and we have now for quite a few years very successful concert cycle with different kind of art music. And I think this is really important to bring local people high valuable concert events. And we had really till now we had a huge success, and I hope we will do it also in future years. Also at the academy, I think it's useful to do more things, not only concentrated on accordion. And then, as a player, I was struggling playing hundreds of pages of new scores. And at one point I said, okay, I will do it now for 30 years like this, and then that's it, or what? I mean, maybe it would be nicer to do something else. And many people encouraged me to do my own music, because I corrected their scores, and I had many good ideas. And then actually Vinko Globokar was one of the main reasons to start writing things. And now I am more happy if I do one piece as I would play 10 first performances. I do
Mm-hmm.
one piece and I'm happy with it, and I have a feeling or illusion, I don't know. I'm leaving some kind of trace, but I'm not only a playing machine, because
Mm-hmm.
if you are playing with orchestras and you're playing all these contemporary music festivals, and I don't know, maybe 20 different accordion concertos with orchestras, and I played most of them once,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
then you're asking yourself, okay, I mean, is this what you want to do? I mean, of
Mm-hmm.
course, I have this privilege now to be a professor, and I don't need to. I mean, I'm financially stable, so I can choose what I do. But I have also a lot of invitations, and I have this kind of privilege. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But at the very beginning, I must really say very, very clearly that it was not like this. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
was playing a lot, and I was practicing a lot, and traveling too much.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, I'm canceling concerts because concerts are too far away. I
Mm-hmm.
am not able to travel as much as I did before. Yeah, but of course, I am at the moment in this situation, but at the very beginning, you must, of course, consider other options. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what I'm getting from you saying that is stay focused on kind of exploring and be like not single-minded, but in a way just concentrate yourself on one thing or on one aspect, and later in life reevaluate and see what choices you have and really think what you really want to do with your life. Because as you're saying, uh, unfortunately, especially with contemporary music, and it's really unfortunate that many pieces you're playing only once, and maybe you've invested 3 months to learn it, and then it's just 20 minutes on stage, you know. And then you're like, okay, so I did this thing, I've put this huge amount of effort, huge amount of attention, huge everything, and then it's just one performance, and then that's it, you know. So
Yeah, many times the pieces are also bad. You're
true.
just practicing, and then you're saying, "Oh man, this could be like this and this and this, and it would sound much better." And the piece is too long, or this part is too short, or too high, or whatever. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're asking yourself, "Are you really? Would you really like to do this the whole life?"
Mm-hmm.
So I still play a lot of first performances. At the moment, I'm practicing again double concerto. We played with radio orchestra in April, for keyboards, and accordion. And I'm still doing this, but not so often. I'm canceling
Mm-hmm.
most of the invitations that I get, and I am just concentrating on what I would really like to do. I would like to say once again, I feel privileged to be in this situation, but I really have a huge problem with all this social media stuff and self
Mm-hmm.
promoting, and I would like to act like an example to my children and to my students, and I have huge problems because I really don't know if I'm on the right path, you know. I
Mm.
have colleagues, amazing musicians that are posting what they eat almost every day, or their cats or dogs or their friends or girlfriends or whatever. And I don't know if this is good. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just asking myself. But in my situation, because I'm working a lot, I'm working too much, I've just said, okay, I will cancel all my internet um, activities, or almost all my internet activities, and I will just concentrate on very basic stuff for me: organizing, teaching, playing, practicing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
this was my choice, but it's really hard nowadays for young people, because it's quite normal, or I mean, it's really like, if you're not present in these social media platforms, then you're not existing, and
Mm.
this is a huge problem, and um, I don't know what is right. No.
Yeah, but it's very important that you're asking yourselves this question. And one thing I want to point out, you say that you feel privileged. It's also good to point out it wasn't luck, or not only luck that you're in this position. It's a huge amount of work, an insane amount of work, an insane amount of saying yes to everything, or like to most things, so that you could achieve this point in life where you can choose, because many young musicians feel like they cannot say no to an quote unquote opportunity simply because it might bring another concert, or it might bring something, or whatever the reason. So sometimes we feel kind of pushed towards saying yes to something because we believe it might bring something else. And maybe in the beginning, as a student, you don't really have that much risk. in the sense that whatever happens, you're still experimenting, you're still finding your way, you're still exploring what you would like to do, what you won't like to do, which is as important. And then you reach a point where you can say, okay, now, I have a solid financial basis. I don't need to say yes to everything. I know what I like. I know what I don't like. I know what are the inconveniences of traveling to, I don't know, South America or to Atlanta to play in one concert and then go back. You don't feel like you're missing out on opportunities. Uh, in my example, I feel like I'm playing less concerts, but I'm playing the ones that I want, and they're much more rewarding and high quality simply because I am choosing to do them. I'm choosing what I want to play. Of course, I say yes to occasional invitations, depending on what the invitation is. If it's nothing against these markts or fairs
Mm.
that they're doing in
Mm.
Austria and in Germany, but if it's like, oh, it's I don't know, Christmas event outside, I'm like, you'll be paid 500 euros. I'm like, nice money, but I've done this twice. My hands are freezing. Nobody's listening to me. My accordion is under the snow. Honestly, not worth it. So, I just say no. But again, because I'm in this position that I have many teaching positions at different music schools, so I'm kind of covered and I can say no. I
Yeah.
remember a time when I didn't have it and I needed to say yes to also that. And yeah, about the social media thing, something that I'm experimenting with, because you're right. And it's kind of, I talked to someone who founded an academy, a classical music academy, and he said, oh, you young people, he is, I think, over 60. And he said, oh, you young people were fed this lie that you need to be active on social media to have a career, and that made me thinking a little bit. And now I'm trying, I think for 1.5 months, I canceled basically the apps from my cell phone of Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And I'm now using only, there's something that's called Business Suite for Meta. And I'm just creating my posts and I'm scheduling them. So I have like posts scheduled for this month. I don't need to go and post anything. It took me 3 hours on a Sunday. I've scheduled everything. It goes automatically there. And I see all the comments, I see all the messages there. Because in the end, the problem is when you go on this app, you start seeing what everyone else is doing, and then let's check this and let's check that, and 1 hour is gone. So from that point of view, I think if you approach social media and internet presence strategically and don't kind of spend hours and hours and hours posting, I don't know what, as you mentioned, like your food, your vacation, your whatever. I mean, you need to ask yourself, well, what am I posting? Why am I posting? Am I posting as an artist? Am I posting as my hobby? What am I doing? Like, am I trying to show someone what an amazing life I have? Or like, and asking yourself these questions, as you say, you don't know what approach is right. Just experimenting, trying to see what works and what doesn't drain your energy. I think that's one of the most important.
Yeah, I will come to that a little bit later. What I would like to say is it is still for me very hard to cancel the invitations for the projects. This is never easy. I mean, I also have this kind of problem. I worked so hard for this that I'm recognizable or whatever, and that people call me, and then I'm canceling most of them. I mean, it's really, this is hard. This is still hard for me. But at the end of the day, I don't have time to learn 10 new pieces. I don't have time to travel 150 days a year as 20 years before. I have two big commissions for orchestras, but I don't have time to write the pieces. I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, and then you must be honest to yourself. I could do maybe 30 or 40% more, but maybe only a few years, and then I would burn out. I am, if I'm honest, all the time somehow in this area where I'm very tired, and then I'm okay, and then so to be honest with yourself, and if you want to have sustainable life, to do it like another 40 years, then it's not possible to do more. Yeah. So
Sure.
this is the first thing. And the second thing, with social media, yeah, I'm reposting what is already on the web about me. I don't do any personal photos or comments or whatever. But still, this is too much time. Of course, these social medias are nice and important source of different informations for me. And for example, who is playing what, who is playing where, what are the major pieces, performances, festivals, or for example, where are good conditions for skiing or for ice climbing or whatever. I mean, this is everything can you find on the social medias. It's really crazy. I can tell you, for example, I was in Peru a few years ago, and in Peru there is no forums or whatever about conditions in this Cordillera Blanca. It's a range with those 6,000-meter peaks. And then I just put one summit, Tropicalki, tech slash or whatever, and then I put it in Instagram, and I got who climbed it, where, when, and then I could then somehow recognize if are good conditions or bad or weather or how much snow and how is the glacier or whatever. So everything is there if you can use it, but the problem is we are spending too much time, and we must be really have a lot of discipline to have it under control. And this is my problem. I must be honest. I mean, this is, I think, everyone's problem at the moment, because these algorithms are made to make us junkies.
Addicted.
I mean,
Yeah,
we
to the
are
app.
addicted somehow, and how to be an example to for example, to my children or to my students. This is really a big question to me. And yeah, we will see what
Yeah,
the future will bring us.
it's also new technology, so everyone is learning. It's not like, oh, look, I'll show you how it's done. And as you're saying, like these big corporations have the best psychologists in the world to find new ways to get you to spend more time on their social medias. So it's like you against a team of hundreds, if not thousands, of experts on how to keep you engaged. So
what I've recognized in between is, maybe this is not so present in music. Maybe I recognize it with some people, but especially in outdoor sports. In for example, at the moment in Slovenia, it's really popular ice climbing, free ride skiing in the mountains. And I think majority or really huge group of people in this society are motivated from social media and to post something about what they did. And this is, I think, really dangerous. And I think we must be honest to ourselves why we are doing it. I know that you invited me to this podcast because of my new album, so I will somehow make a bridge to this theme. It's really to produce new albums, it makes no sense nowadays. It's really tragical and sad, but it's really I don't know what
Yeah,
to
no,
say.
it's
It's a lot of energy and a lot of money and a lot of work. And
mhm,
if you don't believe in it, and if you don't do it for yourself, then it's really not something you will do. And it's the same with the climbing and skiing, or
mhm,
or just playing concerts. If you don't do it for you because it's important for you, then
mhm,
it's really bad for your soul somehow.
mhm,
And as I told you, in the music world, I don't see it so much, but in this fashion and outdoor sports and younger people, I mean, they are doing so much crap just to
mm,
be present in the web. It's crazy. It's just
mhm.
crazy.
Yeah, no, it's one of the negative sides of social media. And to go towards your album, and to correct you here, I didn't invite you because of the album. I really wanted to have a talk with you to get to know you better, because also the kinds of things that you're doing, and also your artistic vision, it's something that I was interested in, like even when I was a student. So to have a chance to sit down and talk to you and
Oh, thank you.
hear all of these aspects is very interesting to me, and I think it will be also very valuable to the listeners of the podcast. And to kind of go towards your album, how did you get into composition? Because you said that Vinko Globokar was kind of a big push or inspiration towards that. But is it something that you studied, or was it something that you felt like you had better, not better, but good ideas about how a piece could sound better? You know, so how did this journey into composition begin for you?
Yeah, I had a lot of these kind of impressions from my composition colleagues. Yeah, you should do it, or you are doing it so good, and if you are improvising, it's much better as if you play my piece or whatever. I got really a lot of small motivation pushes. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but I had no time. I was practicing a lot, I was playing a lot, but when I was 30, I wrote it down that I will write a piece in one application for a grant, the whole year grant at Ministerium for Culture in Slovenia, and then I got this grant. So I was forced to to
To
do
begin.
something. Yeah?
Yeah.
And then I was, of course, I also had no time, and I also don't have this discipline to write music, and I was postponing to do it. And then I had a huge back problems at one
Mm,
moment. I know exactly. I was 30 something, and I was lying in the bed, and I said, now or never. I mean, I must do it. Now I have time. And I just took a paper and I wrote the piece Hrup. This is my first piece. It's published by Neos. And I actually dedicated this piece to Vinko Globokar. And I I made a premiere at the biggest contemporary music festival in Slovenia. So already the first piece was actually quite a huge success. I played this piece also 30, 40, 50 times all over the world. And then the second piece I wrote for Uroš Rojko and me. We are playing for 20 years in duo, and we played a lot his duo Vox. And then
mhm,
I had this idea to do a second part to Vox, so like the second the second part of the Vox. And I did the piece Unleashed, and I received this Rostrum recommendation.
mhm,
I was second, and at one point, this music producer that was from Radio Slovenia in Rostrum, he said, at one point, I was afraid that you will win, because then you will get a commission from Radio France, and I knew this is your second piece, and you have no education, and I really don't have. So I never studied
Hmm.
composition, and of course I watched my colleagues, huge composers like Vinko Globokar and Klaus Huber and Nikolaus Huber and Uroš Rojko and Thomas Larcher, Klaus Steffen Mankov. I did many projects with these guys, and I always have hundreds of phone numbers to ask my colleagues what is this and how and so on. But at this point, I see actually a lot of problems with studying composition, because I think composers, young composers, when they start studying, they are really they have no experience, they don't know enough music, and they are under really strong influence from their teacher. And I don't know if this is really something what I would recommend to young people, but maybe this is other tema. Yeah, this was actually my path, and since then I'm writing piece 2 or 3 maybe a year. Yeah, I'm doing it for fun. If I have some kind of necessity to do it, then I do this. I have no ambition to be successful. I'm writing my pieces with hand, also orchestra pieces, and I really enjoy this. It's for me like a meditation, to take a paper and pencil and just to write something down. And I'm really happy because it looks like I will be able to take sabbatical next year at the academy, and I will most I have idea to do a bigger orchestra pieces, but also I would like to dedicate some time to pieces for younger accordionists. I have I feel I owe this to my instrument somehow. So it looks like next year will be really special for me, and I really am looking forward to.
Nice. We're also looking forward to your output, to your compositional output.
Yeah, let's wait and see what will happen.
No pressure, no pressure.
Yeah, no.
You just write what you want. Yeah, no, it's very curious also because I remember a colleague of mine who studied composition said that to write, he needed to feel kind of this need to actually write and take the music out and the musical ideas and put them on paper. But that only came after listening a lot of music and analyzing a lot of music and scores and kind of getting ideas and seeing what works, what could be done better, what you would do in a different way. So for someone of, let's say, someone who was thinking about starting composing, aside from being constrained in bed with health problems, what is the best entry? Like, what advice would you give to someone to start actually writing, even if they don't have, let's say, the formal education? And also to the point of formal education that you mentioned, I remember I was at a festival last year, and a composer, it was a performance of, I think it was double bass solo, who composed a multimedia piece. And one of the composers who attended said, "Oh, it's so nice and curious to hear what performers are doing, also because they're not bound to the same, let's say, historical aesthetic awareness that we composers are bound to." So, yeah, what would be your advice to someone who was thinking about starting but never kind of went into it?
Yeah, just do it. I mean, just do it. Be. I'm very self-critic, critical. I analyze a lot what I do, and I'm never really happy with the results. And just be honest to yourself. Don't do anything what you are doing for someone else. Just do what you think is it's good, and if you're honest to yourself, then you won't regret anything in your life.
Hmm. Yeah, and I
But
think that's the best advice.
if
Hmm.
you're always trying to make compromises because of other people, then it's at the end, if you won't succeed, then you will have bad feeling. But if
Hmm.
you're honest to yourself, then you won't sell the only thing that you have, that's your interest and your time and your energy and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would just suggest, be as educated as possible, listen a lot of music, analyze a lot of scores. Nowadays it's really simple to be in touch with the best things in the contemporary music arts, like visual arts, movies, recordings, even scores. I mean, I have this app now, but I don't help me with. Now I'm searching for it. I have all published scores are in one app for few euros.
Hmm.
I don't use it as much as I should, but yeah, it's there and you can
Hmm.
analyze it, and it's crazy. I mean, all the knowledge is in these small boxes.
Hmm.
You just must be curious, and you must find your path.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah,
Yeah,
this would be my advice.
yeah, I think it's the best advice for most things in life, especially in music. Believe in what you're doing. Don't make compromises just because of people around you.
No,
And yeah, just stay
no,
curious and look for new things.
no.
And going from there, let's talk about your latest album, Random, Random. Because you,
Random, yes.
yes, because you also have a piece there which you wrote, I believe, right? Random in 2023.
Yeah.
So what is the main kind of inspiration or impulse that made you want to record this album and put these pieces together? Also, because as you mentioned, if you don't believe in recording albums today, it's, one might suffer from doing such a thing.
Yeah. So I took a lot of influences for my pieces from other art disciplines, especially from literature. And Random is the title of the poem from my friend Gregor Podlogar. And I wrote this D is big because dom is in Slovenia is home. It's
Mm-hmm.
like home. So I have some special thoughts behind this title, and it's very personal for me. But anyway, I can explain you why this title is like this. This home dom, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
is for me, for example, something that I live with um, for many years, and these are small effects on accordion that are not audible for other people because they're inside of instruments. Small distortions,
Mm-hmm.
noises. I invented some kind of multiphonics and air noises and etc. etc. And with this piece, I was just um, yeah, I played with these noises, but I took a lot of amplification. So I amplify very soft sounds that are coming from accordion, and then I use very simple analog tools like ring modulator, um, uh, then low frequency oscillator, loop, and freeze machine. That's actually it, and volume
Mm.
pedal. So I was basically um, like discovering possibilities with very, very simple tools that I have under control with my mixer.
Mm-hmm.
Because the other story with electronics is that I was member, or I'm still member, so I didn't play for many years now, at Ensemble Experimental. This is ensemble from SVR Experimental Studio,
Mm-hmm.
and I played many times with them, and it was really a privilege to work with them, because this is maybe the most competent studio for electronic music, with the richest history and all the programs and possibilities. But I actually came there as a player. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know anything about computer programs or what is behind the pieces. I just came and played many concerts with them, and I was impressed. And I know that this electronic music is a huge field, and you can dedicate life to this field, and you will never know anything. But also as a university professor, and if you are responsible for contemporary department, you must know at least something. So I started just very systematically with mixer and small analog stuff, and I actually don't know anything, but at least a little bit. I have a small amount of instruments, and I had my own pieces that are working with electronics somehow. But then the rest of album is actually, I did this random is my piece, and then there are two pieces that I did with two colleagues that are actually specialists for electronics. With Mauricio Valdez, I did Cuperona. I did the score, and I choose the material and everything, and he did the electronics. It's actually a piece for tape and accordion, and also the thesis scene with Elis Homan, and the other two pieces from Tilen Leber and Matej Bonin. It's actually they are pieces with tape or live electronics. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nice. I listened to the album last night, and I encourage everyone. I will put the link to the album on Bandcamp in the description of the episode. I was listening, and I was listening in the highest quality. I think the WAV one, and at one point I was hearing something that I would hear, at times when you close your instrument, you still kind of feel the reeds vibrating, and taking that and transforming it into a vibrato. And now that you're kind of talking about this, I really felt that it was electronics, pre-recorded tape electronics with these effects. It's crazy listening to you describing the process of doing
this
that.
random. I'm happy with this piece, I must say, because it doesn't sound like accordion piece. It's
Yeah.
really like, if you don't know, then it's really hard. Okay, in between there is a tonal part, and you can of course then hear some kind of loop and this vibrato and so, but the rest is so abstract and so crazy different than anything else that I know, that it's hard. And this is of course my goal. It's impossible to write something like this if you don't know the instrument.
True. Yeah, you really need to know
Because
the
these are
physiology.
really hard effects to realize, and even for accordionists, they don't really know what I'm doing. But I mean, if I'm writing for accordion, and for me, I don't want to do something what already was done by hundreds of people. I mean, yeah.
Sure, and you're driven by your own interest, your own curiosity, and by your own knowledge. You know the tools that you have under your hands, and you can use them.
And I'm doing it for myself, really. I
Mm-hmm.
don't expect any success. I mean, I'm once again, I'm privileged, but I'm also I think I'm really selfish. I mean, I'm really selfish, but I'm doing it for myself. And if someone is interested, then I'm happy. If not, then I don't really care. I mean, uh, 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 it's interesting for me, and I'm quite sure in the future there will always be someone who will listen to it and will say, "Wow, this was crazy. What is he doing?" But we must be honest and practical. The majority of our society is not interested in this kind of stuff. So yeah, why should I have expectations?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I also, because we are talking about the album, uh, I published the first CD that was published by Neos. It was at that time, it was maybe the biggest CD publisher, um, with ACM and Vergo, etc. But yeah, one of the biggest. We did this Donaueschingen Musiktage where I played accordion concerto from Vinko. And then I did two albums, one solo album with them, and then duo with Uroš.
Mm-hmm.
But then I didn't realize it has some kind of effect on my career, or I I it doesn't make any sense for me to invest even more money in this kind of promotion and to expect that I mean, I have enough to do, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
just doing my projects in my own world. I have really nice circle of people here, and I can't work with everyone. So yeah, I'm enjoying this local society and people with who I'm working. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very curious and nice to hear your kind of perspective about, because to me you seem like a very self-aware artist in the sense that, okay, so how is this contributing to my career, how is this contributing to my self-image as an artist, is it something that I'm interested in? And then you evaluate and make your own decisions, because in the end, discovering and doing what you really want and what you really feel like doing, I believe that's your notion of success. For someone else, it might be to be published under Deutsche Grammophon. And if you want the Deutsche Grammophon, then be ready to spend 20 to 30,000 euros just to have the logo on your CD. If
Mm-hmm.
that's your notion of success, then go ahead and do that,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think the frustrations begin when we kind of do what people want us to believe is success, and then we see that it's not kind of leading us where we want to. And at
Mm-hmm.
that point, it's very useful, as you're saying, to reassess and ask yourself, am I really satisfied, am I really happy with my path right now, or do I want to change something? And then make
Yeah.
strategic decisions, not just like, oh, I feel that I need to have a logo of Neos on my CD because then maybe I would get invited to some. I mean, those days, I think, are kind of gone now,
Mm-hmm.
and self-production might bring you even more success and even more concert engagements and more interesting collaborations in the end, in my opinion. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to say that I'm totally happy and always yeah, that I admire my work or whatever. I'm mostly unhappy, and I always see too many problems, and I am perfectionist in a way, and this is of course my huge problem.
But
You would like to say something?
isn't that part of being a musician? I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, you
Yeah.
need to kind of know when it's good enough to be brought on stage or
Yeah.
to be recorded, but you will always find stuff that doesn't work or could be done better. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
We are
really.
really good at that. We are
Oh,
really good.
yes.
We are educated and trained to always find things that could be done better.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
This is
absolutely.
our huge problem.
No, it's kind of like our gift because it makes us go even better, but it's also our curse because we're never satisfied with,
Yeah.
100%.
And
So
this is a recipe to burn out. If you are doing it also in the life, like in the, I don't know, in building your house, having your relationships with your friends, parents, partners, children, this is a curse,
yeah,
and it's a recipe to be ill.
yeah,
And I I really don't want to say I have it under control. I think we all must be aware of it, and we all must be some kind of present in time, and ask ourselves. We must be perfectionists, but other way around, we must also say, "Ah, come on, it's enough. It's
mm,
it's okay."
yeah,
And
true.
still, I will again come to the point. If you are honest to yourself, then you should not be afraid of anything, actually. And I'm trying to do this. I'm mostly unhappy, and don't know what I should do, or what I would like, but I'm trying to ask myself, what is now the right decision that you should make. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the path of an artist, And on this note, I'm very aware of your time, Luca, and thank you very much for this very inspiring and interesting conversation. Where can people find more information about you? Where can they listen to your music? And how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, my music is available in all platforms. And new album at Bandcamp. It's really good quality. 48 slash 24. I also did an LP of 2 pieces from this album. It's a really nice LP. There are a few left, so if someone is interested, there are still a few LPs. But yeah, I'm quite lazy, and I'm really not proud of it. My homepage is old and not updated, and it's really sucks. I mean, I must update my homepage.
and here is this perfectionism that's coming
Yeah,
out.
yeah, no, it's really bad. Uh, I, 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 I mean, you can check a few photos, but that's it. Actually, otherwise, you can visit my concerts. I'm trying to update my Facebook page. Um, in last couple of years, I'm mostly in Slovenia. I enjoy this my homeland a lot, and I am trying not to travel too much. Um, yeah, and yeah, if someone has questions, I'm always open to answer them through email or any other um, canals.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Luca, for that. I will link everything that you said in the description of this episode. And it has really been a pleasure to get to know you better, to get to know your thoughts about being an artist. And I'm really looking forward to, and I'm really sure that the audience as well, to what is coming for you in the upcoming years. And we're waiting for those pieces to hear them.
Thank you very much. Really, thank you for your invitation. Thank you for your time, and I wish you good luck and a lot of energy to do this your podcasts for many years in the future. So thank you once again, and I hope to meet you soon in person, also live. Yeah.
Thanks, Luca. Thank you for listening to this episode. Reach out with comments, suggestions, listen to the other episodes if you haven't done so yet. Feel free to reach out to me on social media, send in an email. You can also send in a voice message if you'd like. The link is in the description of the episode, right at the bottom. If you'd like to support the podcast, if it brings value to you, if you find it helpful and useful and entertaining, or whatever the reason, there's also the option to support the podcast with a small donation. Thank you again for listening, and see you in the next episode.